All right. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. I'll start at the beginning. I've run my own business since 2002, and that follows a career 17 years in the IT and telecoms industry. I know I don't look that old, but I really am. And that whole journey started in the entrance hall at QM. So I started school in 1979, which is probably a year you only hear about in history lessons. I left in 1985. I actually left a year early. I left halfway through A-levels. And I must admit, school wasn't a good experience for me. I didn't enjoy particularly a lot of my time at QM. But also, I didn't fancy getting a job either. I didn't really fancy getting a job with the GCSEs, the O-levels that I had. And so I stayed into the sixth form, really for lack of anything better to do, to be completely honest. And so just into the first half of 6-2, the second year of sixth form, I was walking through the entrance hall one day. My physics teacher was in the entrance hall. Mr. Brudenell was his name. And he shouted, "Oi, Freeth, do you want a job?" And I said, "What, like stapling 100 leaflets for first years?" He said, "No, a real job, leave school, get, earn money." And I said, "Yeah, all right then." And that was it. I went for an interview with a telecoms company. And the interview, I basically just sat there for an hour while the guy grinned at me. Because the physics teacher was a friend of the sales director, and almost every year they took on an apprentice from QM. And so they liked the look of me, and I seemed, interested in what they were doing. And it seemed like an interesting job, get out, travel, a lot of variety, but most importantly, earn money. So good to Mr. Brudenell's word. I did in fact, leave school, get a job, earn money. So I started work 30th of September 1985, and I did a 3-year apprenticeship, and I loved it because, as I said, I earned money, and it gave me a lot of freedom, and it was interesting, and there was a lot of variety in it, which really suited me, and it was very practical. It was doing a very practical job, but learning very practical skills that I still use every day now. So very valuable for me from that point of view, and really kind of suited me, as I said. So following that, 1990 now, a couple of things happened. I bought my first house in 1990. And I started to wonder if I could have done A-levels after all, if I was kind of up to it. One thing I remember from starting the A-level journey in QM was the first week of sixth form, the first chemistry lesson, being given a 2-year revision timetable, and we hadn't learned anything yet. They want me to start revising before we'd even learned anything. And that just seemed like a lot of hard work for me. And totally different to what I'd done at O-level, at GCSE level. Totally different. Where I hardly revised at all and did okay, and I just, read the stuff that interested me. So, you can probably start to see a bit of a pattern sort of emerging. So I wondered, could I have done it? So I enrolled at, what was called Walsall College, or Walsall Technical College, I think, at the time. I did an A-level in business studies. Basically, I looked through their list of courses that they did at night school, and it just seemed to be the only thing that kind of was in any way relevant to my work. I couldn't do biology and French. It was very kind of school subject oriented. So I did an A-level in business studies, and I passed, and it didn't seem so difficult. And really, I was proving to myself that I could do it, that I could have done it. So after that, I moved through a variety of different roles in some well-known global businesses, traveled the world, learned about all kinds of interesting things, designed lots of interesting things, designed bits of the internet that you're using today. But the longer I spent in the corporate world, the more I knew that I couldn't stay there. I had to run my own business. And I guess that at the time it felt like I just couldn't stand taking orders from idiots. years later, I realised probably it was me that was the idiot, but that's something you only learn in life through experience. So in 2002, I took a voluntary redundancy package, but where basically they just pay you a load of money to leave. That couldn't be better, couldn't it? Pay you a lot of money to not work anymore. And then I started on my own. So I told myself that I would do it for as long as I enjoyed it. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew that being self-employed is inevitable, but doing what? I don't know. And I think really it wasn't that important, the what. What was important was the sense of autonomy and freedom and choice, I think, and the variety as well. So I said I'd do it for as long as I enjoyed it. And when I stopped enjoying it, I'd do something else. And it's nearly 19 years has gone by. I still enjoy it. The work that I do day to day has changed, has evolved gradually over that time, as you might expect. But as I said, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I just did what I enjoyed doing at the time. So I was interested in learning and personal development and developing people. So I just started doing that because that was just what I happened to be interested in at the time. So I started doing corporate training, leadership, team building, sales, executive coaching, that kind of thing. And as I say, I think looking back, it wasn't important what I did. I think what was important to me was the journey. And over the years, I started to wonder, could I have succeeded in university? Could I have done a degree? So in 2016, I decided it was time to go back to school again. And I enrolled in a postgraduate level course in human resources development, HR, people development. Which seemed like the best kind of qualification for the sort of work I was doing at the time. I couldn't be bothered to go back and start again with lower level courses like foundation degrees. It seemed like a backward step. So based on my practical experience, I just did what I normally do, which is go in at the top and assume that that's okay unless somebody tells me different. So I started that course. It was a distance learning course. 2 years later, I finished it. I finished it in about 19 months, actually, all in. And that was after about 6 months of not really doing anything with it. So if I'd have pulled my finger out, if I'd have had the experience that I needed at the start, if I knew kind of how to run the course, how to actually do it, I probably could have done it in a year. I even got a nomination for Outstanding Student of the Year in their annual awards. And I went on to be awarded the chartered member status of the professional body for HR people, which is called the CIPD. And now I'm an active committee member of the CIPD local branch, and I'm a board trustee for two large school academy trusts in the Midlands. And I think something that's true of everyone that I've worked with is that we want our work to mean something, to count for something, not just to be done for the sake of it or because somebody else is telling you have to. We want to make a difference. We want to have a sense of purpose or value or importance because we all individually need to feel valuable and significant, to feel that we all did something memorable that other people care about. And I think not always, but sometimes in the corporate world, it can be difficult for people to get that sense. Certainly it was for me. So I think the overall message from everything that I'm sharing with you today is do what you enjoy. Because if you enjoy it, you will want to do more of it. And if you do more of it, you'll naturally get better at it. And if you get better at it, people will pay you more to do it. Simple as that, really. The hard part, the challenge, is in figuring out what it is that you enjoy doing. I think the hardest thing for you all right now watching this is that you have absolutely no idea what jobs even exist in the world. And, you even if you want a career that people have actually heard of, like a doctor or a lawyer, there are dozens, maybe hundreds of different specializations. That isn't one thing. And nobody can tell you in advance what's going to be right for you. They can tell you in advance what jobs are going to pay well, but I can tell you as an executive coach, the people who I work with who are having a midlife crisis, a midlife identity crisis, and, around about their 40s used to be. It's a little bit earlier now, I think. They're all saying the same thing, which is that they fell into a job that they didn't really choose, but they ended up doing it because of the money, or they pursued a career specifically for the money, like being an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. And then they get to a point in their lives where they can't remember why they did it anymore and realize that they never actually enjoyed it. And the problem with getting paid a lot of money for a job like that is it traps you. And people think, well, I can't go and do something else because I couldn't, because I've become reliant on the income. So nobody can tell you what's going to be right for you. The advice I'll give you is, if you're feeling that you're in that position where you are undecided or uncertain about what you're going to do, put yourself in a position where you can try lots of different things as quickly as you can, because you will only know what you enjoy in life by doing it and paying attention to whether you like doing it or not. If you like doing it, carry on doing it. If you don't, stop it and do something else. Often I think there's a lot of pressure on you to make a decision, a long-term commitment at a point in your lives when I don't think it's fair to ask that of you, to be honest. And one of the most common questions that comes up when I'm coaching professionals or talking to professionals about career change is a lot of people out in the real world, as I say, they're in jobs that they don't really want to do. They feel trapped by, they've got a mortgage to pay and, kids' education to pay for and so on. They need to make a living. And I find that this happens often as a result of one or two decisions that they take very early on in life. Either the decision to start based on money, to start with a job that pays well, regardless of whether it's right for them or not, or the decision to do what somebody else thinks they should do, like somebody else, like a parent or a teacher said, oh, you should do this or you should do that. And they think, well, I don't know, so I'll trust them. And parents and teachers often have good intentions and want the best for you. But at the same time, what often happens is their advice for you is coloured by their life experience and the things that they feel they missed out on. And nothing's going to change that. You've got to live your own life. You can't make up for gaps in anybody else's. So the result, as I said, is people get to this point where they have a midlife crisis. They get to a point where they can't remember why they do the things that they do. They don't enjoy what they do, but they feel like they have to keep on doing it. And it's something, it's a very common problem. And one of the most common questions I've been asked over the years is, how did you change careers? And people say to me, IT and telecoms, it's so technical, and personal development, it's so soft skills, and they're so different. How did you make the change? And I think people ask me this because secretly they want to make that kind of career step change and don't know where to start. And there are two answers to that question. There's the answer that people like to hear, and there's the truth. The answer that people like to hear is that actually these two careers, they're not very different. They're both understanding systems, or they're about communication, or there's lots of transferable skills. And people like that answer because it seems like a safe, reassuring answer. It makes it seem like it's easy for them to do it, like it's possible for them to make that sort of career change. What they really want to know, as I said, is how does it become possible for them? So they like to hear that it's a change you can make slowly and gradually over a period of time. The truth is I didn't. I took my redundancy payment. I left and started doing my own thing. It was, off a cliff edge, really. So people like to hear the reassuring answer that this sort of change of direction is possible, but at the same time, it's just a little bit too difficult for them to seriously consider it. It's not the right time now because they've got, their kids are young, or they're just about to start a thing, or they're just waiting for the next bonus check, or they're just waiting for the pandemic to end, or whatever. There'll always be an excuse as to why people don't live the life that they always dreamed of. And as I said, then there's the truth. The truth is, I woke up one morning and I decided to do it. People don't like that answer, because it challenges the stories they tell themselves, that they have all these reasons why they can't make the changes they want and live the life that they want and have the career that they want. The truth is, I just woke up one morning and decided I'm going to go off in a different direction. And as I say, people don't like that answer because if that was true, which it is, but if that was true, there would be nothing stopping them. They would have no excuses, and they wouldn't be able to say, oh, I hate this job, I want to do something else. Oh, I want to start my own business, I want to change careers, whatever it might be. Actually, there's no reason why they can't do that. They can do that anytime they want. You can do that anytime you want. So I think this idea that you have to make a commitment now to a career that's going to span the next, 40, 50, 60 years maybe, that's a huge responsibility. And even 20 years ago, people were talking about, having 2 careers in a lifetime. Now it's 3 because we're living longer. There's no retirement age or state-forced retirement age. And there's so many more opportunities available to people. And until you get into the world of work or business or whatever direction you go in, until you get in there, you just do not know what jobs and what opportunities are available. You don't know what you're going to enjoy doing till you start doing it. So my advice is give yourself a bit of room to be flexible. Give yourself a bit of room to try things out and go with what works for you. Because as I said, if it works for you, you'll be better at it and then you'll get paid more for it anyway. And you'll enjoy it. I mean, that's the bonus. So I think the final, as I say, I think the truth is you can do anything you want. As I say, you just have to decide to do it. Having decided, change your mind anytime you like. Nobody's stopping you. No one will ever doubt or question what you say you are or do. People say, oh, well, I can't say I run my own business because people will, won't believe me. Who's going to ask you nobody's going to ask you to show a certificate. Your first job that you get after school, university, whatever, you'll have to produce your A-level and your, university certificates. After that, nobody asks. They just assume that somebody 10 years ago asked. They don't care anymore. People think that they have to convince other people of who they are and what they are. It's not true. They only have to convince themselves. So the final piece of advice I'm going to give you is probably the most important. And it's this. No one cares. You want to be a doctor or a pilot or an astronaut or an accountant or a teacher or an entrepreneur. No one cares. Go for it. Do whatever you want. No one is stopping you. The only thing that people care about is how you make them feel. That's all that they will remember you for. So if you start down one path and decide you want to change direction, do it. No one cares. No one's stopping you. Just be happy. And in you being happy, realize that you can do what you can to help other people be happy too. And they will remember you for that long after they've forgotten what your job title is. And that's all there is to it. Do what you enjoy. You'll feel like doing more of it. You'll get better at it and then you'll get paid more for doing it. And realize that no one cares. Because no one's stopping you. No one cares whether you this job title, that job title, this business, that business. Whatever. Just get on with what you enjoy doing. So that's all I wanted to say on the subject of my career journey. And if any of you've got questions, which hopefully you will do, then we've got plenty of time for those.